introduce myself. I'm Margaret House. I'm Vice-Chancellor at Leeds Trinity University, Chair of Heart. I'm very proud to say a Child-Friendly Leeds badge. Ambassador. Wow, what an evening. I can honestly say I haven't had such a stimulating, thought-provoking and indeed challenging two speakers as we have had this evening. And there's more to come. But can I just say, Belinda, let me echo what Lemon said. Gosh, as someone who didn't have much self-belief, you know, that was an amazing presentation. The work you're doing is fantastic. I can't wait to read the theses and for you to kind of come and talk to my staff in terms of what we should be doing. And Len, in response, I will pledge with the cameras on that we will, Leeds Trinity University will sponsor a care leaver.
You were here.
So if I can ask our speakers to come and join us at the front. I'm sure you don't particularly need me to chair this session, but we now have the opportunity to ask more questions of them all. So over to you.
I don't know why I'm here.
Please.
I'd just like to say to Len and Belinda that on behalf of all the young people at the back row today, that was an inspiration, and you took the words right out of all of our mouths, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Oh, no. Have you ever seen Police Academy, by the way?
Whilst we're waiting, Len, there are two more universities in Leeds.
Right.
So we could do with another couple of places.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Belinda, I've just got a bit of a question. It just seems very disappointing that the university in some way didn't support the young lady as she was leaving, because your comments were specifically about the local authority not supporting. Yeah. Also, no sense that the university supported her in a decision before she left.
It was also, I mean, I only could focus on a couple of points at during that presentation, but yes, there were people at that particular higher education. She just found that she couldn't, every time she went to access it never seemed to work for her. She found out the name of the person, sent them an email, they didn't respond, sent them another email, they didn't respond. And she exhausted every single option. And just near to the end, she did go to a university and say, I've not got any money. She told them again at the end at the Christmas time. They said the next day they were going to try and help her. But then when she went home, she had no more money to go back. Family had been helping her because she was one of the only ones with a strong family connection. And they'd been supporting them. There was just no more money. She just decided then that she needed to, she couldn't do it, unfortunately.
It sounds disappointing from the universities that any student, no matter whatever their background, would leave because of no financial support.
But it's particularly, can I just say, because I've not heard my voice for a bit now, so. But it's very particular, isn't it? It's a child in care's experience rather than any young person. It's very particular. I think you mentioned a great thing there. You said personalised. What was that? Personalised?
Individual, personalised support packages.
Personalised support packages, and she obviously didn't have that.
No.
Is that right?
That's right. She didn't have that kind of, neither local authority or university sat down with her and told her what she was entitled to. And unfortunately, from knowing of that particular local authority and knowing of that university, they have supported other people. And they have greatly, been there for the people during financial hardship and emotional hardship, but not for this particular person.
Can I just chip in there? We are I mentioned at the beginning, we are members of the National Network for the Education of Care Leavers, and I know there are quite a few members in the audience here as well. And the National Network is very much about trying to get the levels of support more consistent. So the comments that Belinda has made through her presentation tonight, we're trying to find some form of consistency across the whole country, so that all universities, all FE colleges are looking at how they can actually support children in care, care leavers. I know that perhaps that's not the right phrase.
It's the term I use, by the way, because
yeah,
there's no
other that really works.
Yeah.
And that sort of process is there. And my personal belief is, and I think this goes along what Lem's been saying, if we can get it right for care leavers, that benefits every single student in the system. Because if it's right for care leavers, that benefits the person from the middle class, the upper classes as well, who have the privileges already. They benefit from that process. So I think we're striving through the National Network to try and make that happen. And it can be an uphill battle. I'm looking across at Megan in particular. It can be an uphill battle at times, can't it, Megan?
It can.
We're knocking on the doors. We're knocking on the doors.
At the back, and then I thought you had another question.
I do, but I feel like I missed it. I was just going to say, in regards to education, I'm the project officer for Leeds City Council, and I go around promoting young people's voices. And I think one of my struggles growing up in care was actually what Belinda said, that actually, yeah, you took my mum, you took my dad, you 13 of all my brothers and sisters, and the only thing that I had left was my education. And I sort of like got my back up and put the message out like, you took everything else, you are not taking my education. And with that, I did go on to do my GCSEs, go to college, and I started university. So, and now I'm in this job, so I feel very, very lucky to be where I am now. And it's about promoting that message and getting it out. If I can do it, then anybody can do it. And just because you come from a bad starting line doesn't mean you have to end your life at a bad point either. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Belinda, I just wondered if you have found much evidence in your research of other organisations helping the young people, you were talking to, so not just the local authority or the university, but there are other significant organisations.
There was other independent agencies. I can't obviously give their names
Yes.
and really go into it too much, but there were often, if they didn't have support from the local authority or from the university, there'd normally be another agency that was there that was helping them, and it's usually ones to do with maybe disabilities and things like that.
I'm Ibrahim Maynard. Two things. I've come actually in place of someone called Phil Slack, who is a specific worker who's from our Bradford local authority, who works with care leavers specifically at university. I don't know if Leeds has that or Huddersfield or any of those. It's something we need to really think about, because we actually have two workers now. We have 1.5 or nearly 2 workers, because we have about 33, about 13 care leavers at universities in different all over the country. And I think that's helped quite a lot, really. Just going back on to me, personally, I was in care, as Len rightly said, for many, many years. And I was moved about quite a lot, about 12 different children's homes and foster homes, and was adopted when I was young, which I only found out later in life. And you know, I was moved out so much, I actually came to Leeds actually, and I missed school. I went to St Mary's School, if that's still open, and I missed school for quite a while because I couldn't decide whether I was going to go back to Bradford or stay in Leeds. It was this thing of, which am I doing? But I missed so many months of school. So when I actually left care, it was like, I haven't done anything really. And I became a gardener and that. But eventually I knew that I had my passion back in wanting to support young people, as I said, as Lem said. I was involved in an organisation called Black in Care and National Association of People in Care. And I wanted to try and put something back into the system. So I actually thought, I want to go back into it. And I went through youth work. And one interesting thing actually, my social worker said to me, oh, don't go working in children's homes, have some space for us, have some time out. And I actually think that was a good advice in a way, really, because it gave me that space to actually, well, become a gardener, play with flowers and that. But it gave me that time out, and then I went into youth work and looked at that perspective, and then went into social work. And I did the diploma in social work when I was about 28, I think, my thing was, why do you have to wait all that time to do that? Because my education was quite poor, and I did the old type CSEs sort of stuff. But the thing to me was, I achieved it. I got the diploma in social work, I did very well, and that was fine. And I've done connections, diploma in connections as well. So I've got certain things. I'd like to do a scholarship, I suppose, eventually. And I've got a friend who I thought might be here, Darren Coyne.
Yeah, I thought Darren was going to be.
Who was interested in criminology and all that issue, because that's a big issue as well for young people doing care in terms of criminology and the issues around how are they made criminals.
And rocket science.
Yeah.
And astronauts.
Can I quickly respond to a couple of things there? You mentioned Phil Slack over in Bradford, who's a great supporter and a help to heart. And we set up a network system with the 5 West Yorkshire local authorities, where the local authorities come together with our partners, independent fostering agencies, etc. And from the first meeting that we had, Kirklees Council now have a similar person to Phil, so they copied that. I know that Rob Murray is trying desperately to get something similar in Leeds if he can, but obviously all the budget cuts, etc. We come back to Lem's thing about, you know, this is the most important thing. Maybe we need to have another go at Leeds City Council about budgets here. So that is certainly something that I would agree with you. I think it's incredibly important. The second thing that I'd like to come back on, I'm hogging it now, Lem, sorry.
Go on.
The second thing I'd like to come back to is this issue about coming back into education, higher education later on in life. I failed all my A-levels dismally because I played poker in the school library. And I came back in, Margaret's now going to sack me. It's the truth, Margaret. I came back into higher education later on, and I think that gap out from education actually did me an awful lot of good, because I came back and learned when I was ready to learn and really took passion in it. And now I just adore learning, and I want to do learning all the time. I wouldn't have done that, I think, if I'd gone straight to university at the age of 18, because I wasn't ready for it. So, and I think that applies to all kids, all people. You know, the door's not closed. We're happy to take mature learners at any point, any age. You had Bill at Leeds Trinity, 89, graduated last year or the year before last.
Yeah.
You want to it?
Sorry, there was here and then.
Mine is more like a comment, really. I want to say a big thank you for the fact that I've just heard you two speak. I'm not in care, I've not gone through that experience, but I do work with children and I do a lot of voluntary role. It's really good to hear it from you two, because sometimes when you're not in that position, you probably don't know what people go through. At least for me, it's an eye-opener, because working with children, when you don't really know what they're going through, you don't know their experience, comments, as you said, do go a long way. At least for me, it's an eye-opener to say, okay, if this child see me, how I could behave differently. Though I haven't experienced it, but what positive thing can I do to make that child's life a lot easier, a lot better? And for that, I'll say thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
I mean, it's sometimes as well, it's just the little things, isn't it? It's the kind word. It's just, it doesn't take a lot to change somebody's life or to change their outlook. And that sometimes is a lot of people talk about something that someone said to them and it stayed with them. And it's quite a powerful message for us all.
Hi, I'm from we represent 5 universities in the North East. I just wanted to pick apart a little bit about what you said about mentoring. That's really, really powerful. We do a lot of work with looked after young people in the North, and we have a programme with about 60 care leaders that come and engage with us. But we really try and get current university students who are care experienced to come and speak to the younger generations to inspire them. But we really struggle sometimes to get the current university students to want to engage, and I just wondered if you've got any hints and tips. How do we pull them out of the woodwork and make them feel that they want to help inspire the future generations?
It's quite difficult because it's got to be
I
their,
realise that's really difficult.
it's got to be their choice.
Yeah.
And again, we can't be taken away, again, choice and agency from people. But it's just about talking about the benefits that the next generation will get from that, and knowing. But again, what Len said, not everyone wants to be a role model.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants that. Not when they come out. But some people will. I've met many people that want to advocate, that are care leavers like myself. There will be. I'm not. I know that you're struggling, but there will be that one person along the way, and I think it's sometimes you do need to just maybe send a few emails a couple
What
of
inspires
times.
you? If I was going to send you an email to say, we've got 60 15-year-olds coming in 6 weeks' time, how would we get you to come along? Anyone. I know it sounds really hard, but I suppose we struggle sometimes, because sometimes we've got Megan and she's got great relationships.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, but sometimes I feel like we're just sending emails and they're boring and we don't know how to engage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you were asking. Is there? So you were asking about students who can current students then talking to other people
Yeah.
about who are care leavers
Yeah, yeah.
about blah blah blah.
I'm excited
Well,
about uni.
what the care leavers' needs are quite possibly in the university. They're quite possibly not, but they could be answered there. So I would, if I was saying this to a student, I would say talk to them about the life of a student. Like the full works, the partying, the working hard, the sense of community, the sense of new friends, the challenge of it, the fear of it, overcoming the fear, a new city, and what happens to people after university. They go and they go out around the world and they form new communities or they join new communities, etc. I would talk about it as a lived, exciting learning experience because that's actually what it is. So, you need to think about what university really is to a person, to any child, any young person, and sell it like you're selling whatever. Do you know what I mean? And if you would, just to put that into a thing, but I would sit down with students and I would do I would go through some bullet points. The life of a student, honestly,
So would you be paying them to speak?
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Depends on the student. Sometimes we get students, like current care, experienced students that are so keen, like Belinda, to help and inspire these younger groups. And sometimes we try different tactics. Sometimes we'll just send an email to say, we'd love you to talk about your experience and get excited and say, what's and all this, what universities are like. And sometimes we do completely the other tack and say, this is the job, this is the money, what do you want? Because some people don't want to be seen as care experience, they just want to be seen as normal.
Sorry, you talking about care experienced students talking to care
Yes.
leavers? Yeah, well, I would do that then. I would do it as if the care experienced teenager is actually a student, which is what they are, and sell the university or sell the idea of what it is to be truthfully a student, because it's a great life being a student. I run a Christmas dinner. I've got to say this. I've put together a Christmas dinner. I think Christmas is a very particular time. Christmas dinner for care leavers. It's all voluntary. Everybody puts in. Universities have got lots of venues. Christmas Day is probably one of the most intense times for a young person in care. It's amazing how we've not recognised that. I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's very difficult to organise, and I get what you're going through.
Mainly for Lemon, Belinda, but maybe for the rest of the panel as well. Two concepts. One, resilience, and you talked about your earlier life experiences and some of the life experiences of the young people, and some later life experiences. So Mike Steen will talk about resilience quite a lot. So the first part of the question is, where do you think you got your resilience from if you have that resilience, which you obviously seem to have? Okay, and the second thing is my own concept, which is about a significant person. And I think we tell you your social worker is, we tell you your personal advisor is. Can you think of one significant person who has been kind of there to mentor you? We talk about peer mentoring, it could be a peer, it could be a teacher. Can you think of one specific person who could have been that significant person through your care experiences and later life?
Okay, shall I go first? So resilience, and I think for myself that I developed that ability to be able to bounce back because I had things around me that didn't let go of me, that no matter how much I played up or whatever my situation was, I always had the tools around me to be able to, when I did want to apply myself, that I could. They didn't let go. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that they were there. But also, it had to come from me, there had to be something within me, and I think a huge impact for me was seeing the people around me and their lives not going exactly, it wasn't going the way I wanted it to be, and I think sometimes it's going to be incredibly personal, but there are things that we can do, like being there and making sure that the support is consistent and stable and not just there at one point when things are all going really bad, there when it's good too. And on the point for the significant person, I have been fortunate that I've had several significant people that have supported me. One of the main people I'll go from sort of social worker to leaving care worker because it's quite applicable to everybody here, but my social worker that I first got just would sit down and talk to me about actually what was going on, and would sit and go through things and not just sugarcoat it and say, well, this is what this is what we're doing, and they didn't just make it about surviving, which I find that often happens with social services. It wasn't just about, well, we need to get you a house, we need to get you in a house, we need to find, make sure you've got this, this and this. He made it about my education as well. He made it about where I saw myself in 5 to 10 years and planning for that. And then adding on to that, my leaving care worker was great. She just carried that on. She just, I had one after that, and it didn't work as well. But this particular person, who I still keep in touch with now, showed me care. She showed me that she loved me for who I was. And although it is difficult, that showing that, especially around ethics and around our own professional roles, she still went the extra mile for me, and she never gave up on me. She was one of the people I stormed out of, the social worker was too, out of the car, and thought, I'm not listening to you people. And I fought so hard against these, and they never left me. They never let go. Even though I was so, at that time, people would have described me as troubled, and all I wanted to do was go and find the next bottle of vodka, and that's all I wanted, and they just didn't leave me, which I think that's the main thing for me, really.
That's so lovely. Yeah, retrospectively, I had a social worker called Norman who went into my file. Actually, coincidentally, I had a bad one called Norman, but I had a good one called Norman, who, when I left care at 18 years of age, he said, it's been a bit of a car crash up until now, but somebody did love you. And he went into my files and he took out letters of my mother pleading for me back in 1968, shortly after she'd had me fostered for a short period of time while she studied, but I was never given back to her. And I think he became a friend. He's become a friend in my adult life because it's really simple. Because he's been the proof of what happened to me. Because everybody else was so peripatetic. They were all onto their own jobs and the next blah. So I realised when I left care that I didn't know anybody for longer than a year. I didn't know anybody who could piece my entire story together. Everybody coped with me at different times, but there was no through line. So, an old family is a group of people proving that each other exists over a lifetime. All family is a group of disputed memories between one group of people over a lifetime. And I didn't have anybody to dispute the memory of me. And so he could do that. He could say, no, you were right, you weren't crazy. And he's since said to me, they should never have done this to you. Should never have done that, et cetera, et cetera. I complained about that, but So he's my proof of what went wrong. He's since left being a social worker. So I think he's the one that I would say, yeah, there was one person, it's him. And what was the other question? Resilience. I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have resilience at all. I've sort of got through in spite of myself. Really, which is okay, but that's the truth. I don't know if I've got resilience. I've got very thin skin, But then so what? But I don't know whether I've got resilience. I don't know. I don't know. I just know. But I do know this: that when I saw a lie, I wasn't having it, because I thought all I've got is the truth. So if I heard a lie. Look at the words like care and care leave, words that I use as well because there's no other words. But I was like, there's something not true about this and something not genuinely true about this. This person does not want to really be with me going through this at this moment in time. And I could pick it up. And I don't think it served me that well, except for, anyway, blah.
I'm not really sure if I expect a quick answer to this. I work for Sal in his team, in the Child Friendly Leeds team, and I do business engagement. So so I go to businesses and I ask them what they could do to support young people in care. And I don't necessarily deal with care leavers, I deal with younger children, but an overarching aim for me is around turning the curve so that at an earlier stage in life, people are given opportunities to have the best education possible, access to hobbies, all the things that I would hope for my own children. And what I find is that there's no shortage of goodwill from different people, but there's often a kind of an unknowingness about what is best. And so, Lem, you mentioned you like the best package in terms of every child having a laptop or access to therapy or whatever it is. And I would really benefit from hearing from young people about what would make their lives better, so that when I go to businesses I can talk from a position of knowing rather than assumption. And I appreciate that we haven't got long, so maybe we can pick that up at a later time. But I'd be very, very keen to hear from people who are going through it.
Thank you. The lady at the side.
It's not really a question, it's more of a kind of point going on giving young people a voice. Unfortunately, the person I have with me is quite shy, so she's not raising her voice. But I've had the privilege of working with Crystal Ward, who is has experience with the care system. And she's actually, I've had the privilege of working alongside her to develop a personal development program for those that have experience of working in care. It's building self-esteem, confidence. She can definitely explain it a lot better than I can because it's her project. But yeah, she's developed this amazing program. If you want more information about it, it's based in Leeds. Crystal will be here. She has flyers and posters, and I'm sure she's more confident in speaking to you face to face than to a big group of people. But I just wanted to get that out there because she's doing brilliant things within Leeds as a care leader. Yeah, just putting it out there.
Could I just ask then, because sometimes at conferences you get a list of sort of attendees and their job roles. Is that something that we could
I'm
have?
sure we'll circulate that.
Potentially help if we want to know.
If anyone doesn't want their name sharing, please let David on the front row here know. Otherwise, yes, we can circulate the list of contacts to people, but please let David know if you don't want your contact details shared.
Very, very final comment.
It's not a question, I just want to say, as young people, the message that we like to get across is we have to stick with it in care. So as professionals, we'd like you to stick with it, as challenging as it can be at times.
Thank you. And thank you all. Could you again show appreciation?
Can I just remind you of the postcards, the pledge cards that we asked you to fill in. If you can either leave them on the seat, leave them on the table at the front so that we can collect them in. We have got some case studies from care leavers studying at some of our partner universities, one of which is entitled I Hate Christmas, Lem.
Right.
Okay?
Wow.
But it turned out good for him in the end, through education.
Good.
And before folks go, the people who presented for us, can we just present over, please, to Belinda? Thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
What have you got for me? Chocolate?
No, a little something for you to read and do an ode for us one day.
Great.
And Salim, just to release the inner child in you every day. Thank you very much.